All right, every athlete, they want to look the part. They want to be bigger, stronger. They want to look more athletic. They want to pass the eye test. And I get it. But let me tell you something. It is not enough to pass the eye test because when it is Friday night and it's 7 p.m. and you've got to show up, that is the real test. That is the performance test. And most athletes are failing it. And why? Because they are relying on the same three answers I hear every single time I ask about nutrition. I'm eating more. I'm eating more protein. I'm eating more meats. That is their solution for everything from getting stronger to getting faster, from getting leaner to getting bigger, from getting more energy to all the other things that they throw out there. Every single one of their goals has something to do with eating more calories, eating more protein, eating more meat, or maybe eating less calories. But here's the deal. If it were as simple as eating more, every athlete would have a D1 offer. And sure, passing the eye test will get you more offers, most likely. But passing the performance test will get you the offers that you are capable of getting. So let's break it down today. You can stop guessing, stop chasing the wrong things, and start building a system that actually works. So let's start with the myths. Let's break down this calories issue here. So every athlete thinks I'm just going to eat more calories. But what most do not tell you is you can be eating more calories and still feel sluggish, still feel tired, still not recover that well, and ultimately still be falling short of your goals. Because it's not just about calories. It's about the timing, your hydration, the what you are putting in, and fueling for the right moments. So let's talk about this timing piece for a minute here. And this goes into the fueling for the right moments. When you eat matters. Sure, eating more food can give you more energy, more strength, might help you get bigger, but eating more of the right foods at the right times will give you even more energy, strength, speed, and overall performance. So do not just focus on how many calories am I eating, or I'm just going to eat more, I'm just going to eat less. It's like, let's focus on when do you need to eat more? When do you need to eat less? What should you eat more of? What should you eat less of? Rather than just focusing simply on calories. Hydration. If you are not well hydrated, you will not perform the way that you should. I just spoke to this high school team yesterday, and I had them raise their hands of how many of them were drinking X amount of water. So we went 40 ounces, 60 ounces, 80, 100, and a gallon. Most of them had to put their hands down by the time we got to 60 to 80 ounces. Some of them maybe only 40 ounces. Once they learned that a little plastic water bottle is only 12 ounces and they're maybe drinking 3 or 4 of those a day, they're like, oh crap. Like that is not that. Yeah, I'm not drinking that much water. Because most of you guys at minimum should be drinking half your body weight in water. Most of you guys need more than that though. You guys are sweating a lot. You guys are training a lot. You guys are losing a lot of water. And the thing about water, the thing about hydration is it is not just about cramping. Water impacts your energy levels, impacts your strength, impacts your mood, impacts your focus, reaction time. We have water throughout our entire body. So when you think about performance mentally and physically, and you think about recovery and how to bounce back better from your workouts, hydration is a key piece of that. So again, not just calories. The other piece is quality. So I mentioned this briefly a minute ago, but you can't just eat 4,000 calories of junk and expect to perform the way that you are capable of. You guys want to be him. You guys want to be her. You say these things like, I am him, I am her. But if all you're doing is eating a bunch of crap, then you are never going to be truly him or truly her. You're never really going to fulfill your potential as an athlete and as a human. Now, I get it. Some of you guys may not have the financial resources to eat like LeBron or to eat like Kobe or to eat like Tom Brady or etc. But you can do the most with what you got. There are things that you can tweak. White bread is the same price as wheat bread. Bananas and oranges, cheapest fruit out there. Carrots, pretty cheap as well. Frozen fruit and veggies, also pretty cheap. Chicken, turkey, you can get at pretty good prices. So it's beans, another one. So even if you do not have the financial resources to eat anything, you can eat something and you can eat better than probably what you're doing right now. Even if you don't have maybe the money, maybe you could get a job for the summer. Maybe you could go to a food bank. There are tons of food banks, even in somewhere like Seattle. There's a lot of things I see where there's different opportunities to get some food, whether it be a meal, whether it be some canned foods or whatever. At least get something. If you're saving money by getting free beans and rice, then you can spend that money on maybe other things. So again, like there's a you can do more. And this is where I really stress the athletes. Yes, eating more protein is a good start, but it's not the end all be all. It's not the place that you need to stop at. It's just like with your training. Just because you got stronger doesn't mean you're going to be a D1 athlete. You got to be faster, you got to have better reaction time, you got to read the field or the court. You've got to have all these other things. You can't just have strength and expect it all. Same thing with nutrition. You cannot expect to have D1 level performance if all you care about is calories and protein. Again, let's look at the quality. Let's look at what you're putting in and when you're putting it in. All right, now the protein. The protein is king category. The protein is king myth. Ask most athletes what they're focusing on for nutrition, and they'll say protein. I'm just trying to get my protein in. I'm eating this many grams of protein a day. This is what I'm going to do is protein. It's like, cool. Okay. Protein's important. But guess what? If you're only focused on protein, you're missing the real energy system, which is carbs. Carbs are your fuel for game time. They're the fuel for your speed, for your power, for really maximizing your performance. So regardless of if you're an athlete who is trying to gain weight, lean out, gain strength, gain speed, whatever you are trying to do as an athlete, you cannot just stop at eating more protein. You got to look at, hey, what are the carbs that I'm putting in? Are these carbs helping me fuel for those early morning workouts? Are they helping me perform better on game day? Let's really pay attention to, and this is where I said the white bread, the wheat bread. Let's really pay attention to not just protein. You got carbs, you got fats that can help you recover faster. You got fruits and veg that also will help you bounce back faster, will help you so that you're not as tired, that you have better energy, better recovery. I've had athletes who have worked with me for a couple weeks who the only thing that they changed was adding more fruits, veggie, just improving the quality of what they're putting in. Guess what? They perform better, more energy, all the things. Huge, huge. So don't just forget, or don't just focus on protein. Make sure you're addressing the carbs. Make sure you're addressing the fats and the fruits and the veggies, healthy fats, not like fried chicken, to really maximize that performance. So again, if you're just hammering protein and thinking you're good, you will not pass the performance test. Now the meat one. I love the meat one. There's so many athletes, so many parents, so many coaches who are just like meat, meat, meat. Everything's about meats. There's this big push online that meat is king. Load up on red meat, load up on steak, all the things. Meat before practice, meat after practice. Meat at breakfast, meat at dinner, all day. But here's what I see in athletes who follow that advice. They might feel heavy, bloated. They may struggle to perform. Some even throw up at practice because they start throwing these things in at the wrong times. So like I said, remember I mentioned earlier, it's not just about what you eat or how much you eat. It's also about when you eat those things. So yes, we need to eat carbs, ideally at times where we're going to be performing. Yes, we need to eat protein, a little bit around when we perform, when we train, but especially just throughout the day in general. If you're shoving in meat, especially bacon, sausage, all the things, if you try to do the full classic American breakfast, which is eggs, bacon, sausage, maybe some toast thrown in there, and then you go straight to a workout or you go straight to a 9 a.m., 10 a.m. game, you're going to feel heavy. You're going to feel sluggish. You are not going to perform the way that you should because that stuff takes longer to digest. If we are trying to fuel for performance, we need to keep it lighter. We need to make sure we're putting in the things that are going to give us energy, but not in a way that's going to make us feel sluggish. So this is why let's not shove down the freaking freight train or these semi trucks into our stomachs, which is bacon and sausage. These things sit in our stomachs longer. They do not digest as nicely as maybe a PB&J, maybe a turkey sandwich. Yes, we can still eat meat, but let's make sure we're doing the right ones. Let's make sure we're doing it at the right times. So let's not make you feel like you have a rock in your stomach. Let's make you feel like the beast that you are capable of being. Let's make sure that we are putting in the right things in your stomach right before games, right before practices, so that you're actually performing the way that you are meant to perform. This is my biggest thing with nutrition. You can perform great without addressing nutrition. You may have the genetics to perform incredibly without even addressing nutrition, or maybe just focusing on calories and protein. But can you imagine how much better of an athlete you would be if you actually focus on the quality? Can you imagine what Babe Ruth could have done if he wasn't shoving down hot dogs all the time? His record would not have been broken. Any of his records would not have been broken because, and he even acknowledges this. He even acknowledges is that he ultimately limited himself. He partied, he did all the things when he probably could have actually done a lot more if he would have taken care of what he put in. He wasn't partying all the time. He's more committed to being a true athlete. So let's be honest, eating more calories, eating more protein might help you look the part. But again, when it's 7 p.m. on a Friday night, when it's 4 p.m. on a Thursday afternoon, and you are supposed to show up well and you're supposed to be locked in to that game, that is the test. So my challenge to you, do not just pass the eye test, pass the performance test. Make sure that you don't just look like a bodybuilder, you look like an athlete. Make sure that you actually look and can move and perform like an athlete. So here's my question for you. Here's your choice. Do you just want to pass the eye test? Is that all you care about? You just want the muscle, you just want the six pack, or do you want to pass the performance test? The one that actually will get you noticed by coaches, by recruiters, and by teams across the board. Do you want to pass the performance test so that you can reach your full potential as an athlete? It's up to you. That's on you. But I want to leave you guys with this. What is one thing you are willing to change this week to level up your performance? Not just calories, not just protein, not just meat. What are some fruits or veggies you could throw in there? How can you improve the protein, the types of protein you're putting in? How can you improve the timing of what you're doing? Is it your hydration that sucks? What is one thing that you are willing to change this week to level up your performance? Because that's what really matters, is your performance, not just how you look. Drop it down below, drop it in the comments, and as always, keep striving for greatness.